how to host a beer tasting party. If you are part of the craft beer community or the beer drinking community, then you know that beer tasting is the main part of our very enjoyable hobby. And sometimes we want to share that with others. You can do this by hosting a beer tasting party. You may want to do this just to get some people together and share some of those beers that you've been storing. It may be for a celebration, maybe for a festive party or a birthday or an event, or maybe it's a work get together. You can even do this virtually via an online meeting application. But how do you host a beer tasting party? What things do you need to think about? How are you going to organise it? And what do you need to do on the day? So first you need to decide, where are you going to host your beer tasting party? Now it might be at home, you may need to find a venue, or you could do this virtually via a Zoom or Teams link. Hosting a beer tasting party virtually will take different steps. You'll need to plan out parts in advance and send that information to your participants, so that they have the same beers and the same information as you do. Once you've decided on a venue, what beers do you want to taste? Are you going to choose some that you just really enjoy? Could it be a selection from one brewery, maybe locally, or one that you've wanted to try? Could you pick a beer style and find several different versions of that beer? Maybe you're going to pick it by region. Are you going to taste German beers or Belgian beers, or maybe something more exotic that you've not tried before? Could there be a theme to your beers? Could they be Halloween themed, or perhaps they are relevant to Valentine's Day? What about the ingredients in the beer? Could you do just pumpkin beers, or chocolate beers, or beers made with different fruits? There are many different combinations that you could try. Find something that you think would be really delicious and that your guests would enjoy too. Then you need to decide how many beers you will need for your beer tasting party. A good number to try is 4. And then when you're considering how much beer you need to buy, it's a good idea to go with roughly 1/3 of beer per person. Then you've got enough to taste, but you can still drink some other things and have an enjoyable time without getting too merry. Once you've decided on your beers, you may want to make these into a list so that you can give them to people if you are doing this virtually. Then you need to decide where you will purchase your beers. For a virtual beer tasting, it may be a good idea to select beers from a supermarket that is also accessible by your other participants wherever they may be. You might want to look at online bottle shops and beer vendors. You could create the list, or perhaps share your basket with the participants so that they can order the same beers. If you're going to do this, think about delivery times and how long it's going to take people to be able to order them and get them to their houses before the event. If you're going to do it at home or at a venue, think about maybe using local bottle shops or local breweries to support our independent brewers so that they can continue the great work that they're doing. What type of glassware are you going to use for your beer tasting party? If you haven't got dedicated beer glasses at home, a wine glass will do. I would say that you would want it to be clear glass so that you can assess and see the colour of the beer, because this also informs our beer tasting, but really any glass will do. When I'm drinking beer, I like a teku glass like this one. I like stemmed glasses. It's got a nice bowl shape so it opens up the flavours and the aromas. You may have brandy glasses or similar, or nice wide wine glasses that would work. Consider whether you need 1 glass per participant or whether you will have a different glass each for each beer. If you're going to have 1 glass, you may need to include time for people to be able to rinse their glasses before you continue to the next beer. If you would like to have 1 glass per beer per person, you may want to invest in some flight boards. Something similar to this, where you can get a wooden mat or handle or paddle with sections in it for smaller glasses. You can search for these on Amazon, Etsy and eBay. You may want some smaller glasses, possibly this size, where you can get about 1/3 of a pint of beer in. That is an excellent size for tasting. You can buy several of these, or maybe your beer geek friends have some tasting glasses that they could bring with them if you're doing it at your house. At the end of the day, any clear glass will work as long as you've got enough for everybody. During a beer tasting, you will also want to think about snacks and keeping everybody hydrated. A good snack to have between beers to cleanse the palate is a plain cracker, but you might want something a bit more tasty. While you're actually tasting the beers, don't have anything that is too salty or oily, because this will destroy the head retention on your beers. Perhaps have snack breaks between your beer tastings. You're also going to want to make sure you've got water available so that everyone can stay hydrated. So once you have picked your beers, you've invited your guests, you're going to need to set up your beer tasting party, ready for them to attend. For setup, you are going to want to chill your beers, make sure you've got enough room in the fridge. If you are looking at darker beers, you may want to take them out before the beginning of the event to allow their temperature to rise a little bit. Remember that the flavours in darker beers come through at warmer temperatures, so you might want to get them out at the beginning of the tasting to let them warm up a little bit, or maybe have them out just before your guests arrive. Make sure you've got plenty of snacks and water on hand so that everyone feels comfortable and happy to taste these beers. In the beer tasting, do you need a way for people to record their thoughts on the beers? Possibly a sheet like this with spaces for the 4 beers on, where they can record the beer's name, their thoughts and a score would be a good idea. Beer tasting party printables are excellent for this. And at Love Beer Learning, we have a beer party tasting kit available in our Etsy shop now. You might also want a flight board like this that you can print out. You can put the beer name, brewery, beer style and ABV, and then you have the beers numbered so that everyone is tasting the same beer at the same time. Finally, in the Love Beer Learning beer tasting party kit, you get a printable guide that everyone can have in front of them while they're completing their tasting. It includes instructions on how to taste the beer and some vocabulary to help them with their beer review. If you are doing this virtually, you could send the printables via email to the people who are participating, along with a virtual meeting link, and they can print them at home themselves. Once your beers are chilling, you've got your snacks and your water ready, and all of your printables are ready for your guests to arrive, it's time to think about how you're going to run your tasting. Is everyone going to taste the same beer at the same time? Are you going to give everyone the beers to begin with? Are they just going to sip on them throughout the evening and see what they think at the end? Do you want to discuss the beers while you're tasting them, or do you want everybody to wait and then talk about them all together? Think about how you'd like your event to run, and maybe give a few house rules at the beginning before you start. But most importantly, for how to host a beer tasting party is to make sure that you are having fun. We are just here drinking delicious beer, so make sure that everybody is enjoying themselves and having a great beer tasting party. If you'd like more information on how to set up a beer tasting party, check out my Etsy shop with my beer tasting party kit, which includes a 7-page guide for how to set up your beer tasting party, along with the printables I showed you today. Check out the link in the video notes below. And make sure you're following Love Beer Learning for more beer tasting tips.